The first precision-guided munition in history was an armor-piercing radio-controlled glide bomb which the Luftwaffe called the Fritz X. Dropped from 6,000 meters, Fritz X came in at nearly transonic velocity, which is why it could go through so many layers of deck and armor before exploding. The bomb had 4 centrally mounted fins and a very complex box-like tail structure, inside of which was a set of radio-controlled electrically operated spoilers that provided the control. Upon release, a flare ignited in the bomb's tail. Looking through the bomb sight, the bombardier would simply line up the flare with the target using a single joystick-equipped radio controller. After that, it was just a question of keeping the two lined up with each other. Fritz X was carried by a Dornier DO-217 aircraft. The DO-217 had a much larger bomb load capacity and had much greater range than its predecessor, the Dornier DO-17. Early 217 variants were more powerful than the Heinkel 111 and Junkers 88, having a greater speed, range and bomb load. Owing to this, it was called a heavy bomber by the German Air Force rather than a medium bomber. The Dornier 217 served on all fronts in all roles. In the beginning of 1942, tests on a new and improved completely glazed cockpit for the DO-217 series had been underway. The new, streamlined, stickless cockpit design became the standard for almost all German bombers later in World War II, which eliminated the separate windscreen panels for the pilot of the earlier versions. On the 9th of September, 11 Dornier DO-217s of the 3rd Group of the Kampfgeschwaders of Bomber Wing 100, led by the commanding officer Major Bernhard Joppe, sank the Italian battleship Roma with Fritz X. A couple of hours after midnight on the morning of the 9th of September 1943, a large force of Italian warships, 3 battleships, 3 cruisers and 8 destroyers slipped out of a northern Italian port. Leading them was the Roma, the Italian Navy's newest and largest battleship, and they were going out to attack a large Allied naval force which was at the moment staging an amphibious invasion further down the coast at Salerno. At least that was what Admiral Carlo Bergamini told the local German commander. But what they were really doing that night was switching sides and joining the Allies. Roma was not just pleasing to the eye, she was also well armored, fast-moving and very capable, armed with 3 main gun turrets, 2 forward and 1 aft, each mounting 3 15-inch guns, and could fire a high-velocity, armor-piercing shell more than 25 miles. On the 8th of September, just as they were beginning their invasion of Salerno, the Allies announced the armistice from a radio station. Bergamini boarded the Roma and gave the order to cast off and head for the open sea. A few hours later, the lookouts reported twin-engine German aircraft. The lookouts identified them as German Dornier 217 bombers. Each seemed to be carrying a single, very large bomb under the wing in the space between the starboard engine and fuselage. A moment later, the ship's anti-aircraft guns started shooting, but the bombers were too high up to hit. The first bomber released its bomb and maintained its position as the bomb hurtled downward. Sure enough, as it came in, it became obvious that the bomb was being steered to the target. At 15:45 there was another attack. The anti-aircraft batteries opened fire, but again the bomber was beyond the range of their guns. The Dornier 217 released its bomb and maintained its position as the bomb hurtled down. The bomb struck Roma on its starboard side aft of amidships, crashing through the ship's 7 decks and exited the hull before exploding beneath the keel. The speed now reduced to 12 knots, the Roma fell out of the battle group. By now, many of the ship's electrically controlled system, its directors and gun mounts were out. A few minutes later, Roma was hit by another bomb, again on the starboard side, this time detonating inside the forward engine room. There was heavy flooding in the magazines of the main battery turret number 2, as well as the forward port side secondary battery turret. A few moments later, the second turret's magazines exploded, blowing the entire turret skyward. The forward superstructure was destroyed with it, killing Bergamini, the ship's captain, and nearly everyone else there. Fires had broken out all over the ships. At 16:12, Roma began going down, bow first. Then, her starboard decks awash, the Roma capsized, broke in two, and sunk. By 16:15 she was gone, with 1,253 of her crew and of 1,849 officers and men dead. The age of the precision-guided munitions began.